What's up, everybody? Welcome to Marvelous Statues. As always, I'm George, and today we have that time-traveling jockey from the X universe. This is the review of XM Studios' most anticipated statue, Cable. So this is the piece that solidified for me my desire to own an XM Studios statue. At the time when I saw this, XM Studios was already gaining popularity from the release of the Magneto statue. But when I first saw Cable, that's when I knew that XM Studios was something special and not just a one-hit wonder. Cable to me represents a significant achievement for XM Studios. It's a striking piece that shows off their superior craftsmanship, and at a time pre-Deadpool and before we even knew Cable was going to be in a movie, XM Studios with this piece managed to bring this character back into the hearts and minds of an old and new audience, which is equally an achievement and a testament to the sculptor Alejandro Pereira. Okay, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Cable, I'm going to break the story down for you. It's a little bit of a complicated story, so bear with me. Cable first appeared in the Uncanny X-Men 201 in January 1986 as Christopher Charles Summers, the infant son of Scott Summers, the leader of the X-Men, also known as Cyclops, and Madeline Pryor, a clone created by the enemy of the X-Men, Mr. Sinister, to replace Jean Grey. Now, this was the time after Jean sacrificed herself to save the X-Men. Now, although Cyclops fell in love with Madeline and the two had Christopher, Cyclops lost interest in Madeline, which drove her mad and turned her into the Goblin Queen. She then kidnapped Christopher and ran away with him. Now, sometime after that, the mutant Apocalypse kidnapped Cable from the Goblin Queen and then infected him with a technovirus. The virus would turn living flesh into cybernetic parts, thus killing the host. A being came and rescued Christopher and brought him back to Cyclops, but told Cyclops that the only way to save him from the virus that was infecting him was to send him into the future to seek treatment. Now, the adult Cable as we know him would not be introduced until the New Mutants issue number 87 in March of 1990. At this point, the character is now known as Nathan Christopher Charles Summers, or Cable, and travels back in time to present-day X-Men. As you can see, just like the X-Men timeline in the movies, the X-Men comics are just as confusing. So just think of this character kind of like a John Connor from the Terminator. Okay, so now that we know a little bit who Cable is, let's talk about the box art and what comes with the statue. So I didn't bring the box over here. It's because the box is kind of large and it took up a lot of space. Like all of the other XM Studios boxes, it's a very large black box. It has the XM Studios logos on the top and on the sides, and on two of the opposite sides it has the X-Men logo to signify, Cable's allegiance. Like all things XM Studios, their focus is on quality, and the box is representative of that. All right, so what does the statue come with? The statue comes with two extra arms, which allows for 4 different possible poses for this statue. They are very big, very heavy, very highly detailed. So you have a hand that is holding the gun upright. You have a metal arm that is holding the gun outward. You have a hand where the gun is aimed down, and then you have another metal arm with a rifle slung on top of its shoulder. All very well sculpted. For the first time, I have a hard time deciding which pose I like to go with. So ultimately, I am choosing this pose because I feel that it is the most representative of the character. But again, it was a difficult choice. All right, so other than the extra parts that you get with the statue, like all XM Studios statues, you get an extremely awesome looking art piece to show off with your statue. And it looks amazing. So the artwork shows Cable with his rifle slung over his shoulder in what looks to be a dystopian future with destroyed buildings and everything you'd expect out of a Terminator movie. I'm always really happy and grateful that XM Studios decides to ship out artwork like this with their statues. It just shows that they are out looking out for their customers and their commitment to excellence. All right, so let me put this down and let's get into that sculpt. All right, so the sculpt. So the sculpt on this statue is exceptionally good. It's actually my favorite part of the piece, and I believe what makes this statue. Starting from the bottom up, the base is a basic ground, nothing very special going on with that. but the engine that he's actually standing on here is supposed to be off of a Sentinel. To me, it looks like the engine off of a drone or some kind of speeder. Reasoning I say that is because of the turbine in the front and then the wing on the side. So I don't know how that would actually work into a Sentinel, but it's actually still extremely good, and it shows off Alejandro's understanding of industrial design. I mean, it really looks like this thing could function in real life. I mean, the turbines in the front, all of the mechanisms, the hoses and the cables, the idea to take and have the protruding cables that are posable is actually very cool and a very nice touch to the base. I think that is an awesome idea that they had. All right, so moving up into cable, the boots have a very nice texture going on to give it the appearance of leather, along with the stitching going around the edges, the buckles, the steel toe, and the steel heel. It gives it the appearance of a military future boot. So it just looks like Cable can kick some serious ass with these things. Okay, so moving up into the pants, the texture and the folds gives us the appearance of denim. The strapping is richly textured to give us the impression of nylon. And then you have these knee pads that are highly detailed and very distressed to give us the impression that these things have been through war and battle. And then attached to the strapping are these very highly detailed and uniquely sculpted pouches. Each one of them looks very different from the other. I cannot see two that look alike. Has all of the stitching and buckles that you would expect to see in pouches, and he just looks like he's ready to go to war. I mean, it is very indicative of the art style of Rob Liefeld in the 90s. Cable back then was very much, had a lot of pouches on him, and this is a nice nod to that. Okay, so working our way on the back, there's extra pouches back here, along with these straps that are holding it on. The straps are actual material. It is the only part of the statue that is mixed media. It is a nice touch. It definitely does bring a little bit of different color and a little different feel to the statue, you know. So it's actually very well done. All right, so working our way around to the left side, there are more pouches sculpted here along with a knife. The knife handle is actually a separate piece, and you know, it just slides into place. It is very nicely detailed. It has distressed metal look to it. Looks like that it's, you know, been through battle, that it's been used, just nothing that looks new, which is also a very nice touch. Only thing that I wish that they would have done is maybe given us a hand that actually was holding the knife. I think that would have actually been pretty cool, but I mean, it's really fine the way it is. All right, so moving our way up to the tactical vest that sits on top of his Kevlar vest. The tactical vest is highly detailed to give us the impression of leather. The pouches, again, more pouches, just like what you expect to see on Cable. All of them are uniquely sculpted, given that distressed leather look with stitching and buckles, and then there are these huge bullet casings lined all around them, just to give us that whole and sell us that whole idea of the one-man army. I love that they had made a decision to actually sculpt the X logos on him rather than to just paint in the X-Men logo. That was actually a really nice touch. All right, then working our way into the Kevlar vest itself, this is actually my favorite part of the body. It is so highly detailed, so much texture going on there. I love the scarring and all of the torn edges that it has to give it the impression that it looks like it's been through war. And I really like that on the edges near the arms, how it's just ripped, so just to give it that aged appearance. The folds and the whole sculpting itself is just, it's done perfectly. Okay, and then we're moving up into the cybernetic arm. Now, the cybernetic arm for me is my favorite part of this whole statue. You know, in the comics, Cable had a metal arm. It was just completely silver. But in today's age of cinematography and costume design, Cable really needed an upgrade. And that's what Alejandro and XM Studios did right here. This is a major upgrade for the character. I mean, just looking at it closely, it's an engineering marvel. All of the biceps, the triceps, the deltoids, everything is, you know, precisely defined. I love the decision to take and put hoses and wiring all through it so that it makes it look functional, that it's feeding the arm with power. You have these nice pistons here near the elbow to sell the idea that this arm can move. And then the hand itself is just insane. You know, all of the rivets and the different pins are all nicely modeled just to give us the idea that this could actually be real and this could actually work. Okay, so working our way back over to the right arm, The right arm is beautifully sculpted. Love the texture that they decided to put in the skin. The muscles are just engorged and just very flexed. Really like the popping veins. It is a very nicely detailed looking arm. Very well done. The hands have some beautiful looking bone structure going in them and nice folds to sell the idea of the leather gloves. So it's just very well done arm. All right, so then taking a look at the weapons from the comic were really cool, but these again are a much needed upgrade that was given to Cable. All of these nice details like the muzzle, the slide, having these exhaust vents on the gun to give it to sell the idea that these weapons are actually functional, and that huge rifle that he's using, it just sells the idea of badass. All right, so then finally we work our way up into the portrait of Cable. So all of the scars on his eyes, the wrinkles in his face, the popping veins on his neck, the snarl in his face, all sell the idea that this is a hardened man, somebody who has been born and bred in battle. The decision to take and give us that cybernetic eye without a light up feature was an excellent choice, because often when you put glass and you give us a light up feature, you lose the possibility for detail. And having the eye sculpted like that, we can see all of the nice detail that's in the eye, and it just looks really, really cool. You know, hands down, this sculpt is a solid 10. They did an awesome job with this. There's nothing I can see that anybody could find wrong with this sculpt. It is a great job. So XM did an outstanding job with this paintwork on the statue. I've looked it over several times, and there's no areas where I can find any bleed over. There's no overspray of any kind. They did a very awesome job with the quality control on the statue. Working our way from the bottom up, the ground's painted pretty basic, you know, black and gray going on there, but the engine just looks spectacular. I love the paint choices that they went with here. You have blues and purples and copper tones. All of the paint is meant to look like it's been scuffed and worn, and it's been sitting there on this battlefield for quite some time. The engine here in the turbine has a buildup of grime to give the impression that the paint has been worn off over use. It's just a beautifully done paint job here on the engine. I love the appearance of it. Very nice. All right, so working our way up into Cable, the decision to go with the blue suit is a very nice choice because it shows his personality. You know, he's very rigid, very solemn, and that's what blue gives off. But also, the blue takes and allows these brown colors to pop off, you know, so you can get a very nice contrast of color there, and it just shows these colors off very well. The bullet casings all have grime on it to give it the idea of age. The skin is painted very beautifully. Looks just like what real skin would look like. The veins have a blue greenish hue to it to, you know, give the impression that those are real veins. Did a great job there. All of the leather areas are painted to look like distressed leather. Very nicely done. Just very beautiful paint job. The weapons, just like the engine, are painted to look like they've been worn and used in battle. Lots of grime and rust buildup all over it, so, you know, very nicely done. And then the face, you know, the face is just excellent. The red scars around the right eye have a gloss to it, which gives nice contrast to the matte appearance of the face. They did a great job with the shading on the face to make it look like he's been through a battle right now. This little bit of dirt built up there, which is pretty cool. The left eye, the cybernetic eye, although doesn't have a light up feature, the paint actually gives it the impression that the eye is lit up. I had to take a look at it twice when I first saw it. And the hair has multiple tones going in there. It's not just one, you know, gray color. They have, you know, darker grays, a little bit of silver tinge to give it that nice realism that the statue needs. All right, and then there's that cybernetic arm. Just like in the sculpt, the paint work also got an upgrade. In the comics, the paint was actually just one silver color for the entire arm. You really couldn't get any definition from it. With the choice of using multiple colors, XM gave us much more depth in the way this arm looks. You have really nice copper tones and black going on there to break up all of the silver. There's grime buildup on all of the plates. it just gives us the idea that this arm has seen a lot of wartime. The paintwork, just like the sculpt, is a very nicely done job. I really don't see any issues with it. All right, so the design. I feel that this design is very well done, very well executed. I love the pose. It shows off Cable's martial abilities and a commanding presence on the battlefield. The actual engineering of the statue, choosing to go with the pins for these heavy arms, is a very good touch because it allows for security. You don't have to worry about this ever falling out. Equally, there is a pin going through the leg and down into the base. You do want to be careful when you're putting this on. I actually had to stand up and you got to wiggle it in. It's a little bit of a fight, but once it's in, you're just assured that this thing isn't going to tip over. It's very well balanced, very nicely done. Okay, so with that being said, I really do love the way the design looks. There are a few things that I feel could have changed. One is I wish they would have given us an optional head. With this pose here, it would have been kind of nice to have him more aimed in the direction of the gun, maybe mouth open and looking like he's in the heat of battle. All right, so then the second thing I would have changed is the base. Now, I think that the base looks very cool. I really do love the design of it. I think it's very awesome. Definitely reads that they came from the future, so that suits the character. But we're told that this is supposed to be a Sentinel part, and to me, it doesn't read Sentinel. It definitely reads more airplane or drone. So I would have preferred it to be more of a Sentinel part because that's an enemy of the X-Men, and I think it would have suited the character even better than this. But I still think this is an extremely good looking piece. Definitely does not take away from the design at all. Okay, so my final thoughts. I am extremely happy to have this statue. I'm overjoyed about having it. My quest to get this statue was long, and now I feel like I could breathe a sigh of relief that it's here. It is an awesome display of XM Studios' commitment to excellence. It is a testament to the abilities and the talent of Alejandro Pereira. I mean, if you can get this statue, I know it's very expensive, but if you can get this statue, you would actually absolutely agree with me. This is just an awesome, beautiful statue. I definitely would recommend it to anybody. All right, guys, so that's my show. I hope you found this fun. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please hit subscribe. Come find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I left the links below. If you feel like joining the Marvelous Statues group, I left the link there as well. I will be doing my new segment this week. It should be here Sunday, so I'll be working on that. And until then, see you next time.